The highway stretched endlessly ahead as Olivia Carter, a seasoned truck driver, gripped the wheel of her 18-wheeler. The golden hues of the setting sun painted the sky, casting long shadows over the asphalt. It was another long haul, another night alone on the road, just how she liked it. Beside her, inside two heavy-duty military-grade crates, rested her most trusted companions, Thor and Shadow, two highly trained Belgian Malinois. Unlike regular pets, these dogs were combat veterans, disciplined and deadly when commanded. Olivia had served 6 years as a military K9 handler, and while she had traded the battlefield for the open road, she never traveled unprepared. As she approached a small truck stop on the outskirts of Texas, she glanced at her fuel gauge, nearly empty. With a sigh, she flicked on her turn signal, pulling into the dimly lit lot. A handful of big rigs were parked, their drivers likely inside grabbing a bite or catching some rest, but something felt off. Near the entrance, a group of 5 men, dressed in leather vests and covered in tattoos, leaned against their motorcycles. Their eyes tracked her truck as she rolled in, their smirks unmistakable. Olivia had been on the road long enough to recognize trouble when she saw it. As she hopped down from the cab, the murmurs from the group turned into low chuckles. She kept her expression neutral, but Thor and Shadow sensed it too, the tension in the air. Shadow let out a low growl, his dark eyes locked onto the bikers. This stop might not be as simple as she thought. Olivia moved with purpose, heading toward the fuel pump. She ignored the biker's stares, focusing instead on swiping her card and setting the pump to fill her tank. But the uneasy feeling in her gut didn't fade. Behind her, the murmur of voices grew louder. Boots scraped against the pavement. She knew they were moving closer. Nice truck, a deep voice called out. She turned slightly, keeping her stance firm. The lead biker, a tall man with a scruffy beard and a leather vest, stood just a few feet away, arms crossed. His grin was anything but friendly. "You sure a little thing like you can handle that rig all by yourself?" he added, his tone laced with mockery. Olivia remained unfazed. "Yeah, I managed just fine," she replied flatly. Another biker, younger and wiry, snickered. "Maybe you need a real man to take the wheel for you. What do you say, sweetheart? Let us buy you a drink inside." She tightened her jaw. "Not interested." The lead biker's smirk faltered for a second before he exchanged a glance with his crew. Their amusement shifted into something more predatory. One of them, a heavily tattooed man, took a step closer, his fingers twitching like he was about to grab her arm. "Come on, don't be like that," he drawled. "We're just being friendly." Thor stiffened. His ears flattened, and a low, rumbling growl escaped his throat. Olivia could feel the leash tug slightly. He was ready. She took a slow, deliberate breath. This was about to escalate. Olivia's grip on Thor's leash tightened, her stance unwavering. Shadow, still inside the cab, let out a sharp bark, the deep sound slicing through the tense air like a warning shot. "I said I'm not interested," Olivia repeated, her voice firm, but the lead biker only chuckled, stepping closer. His buddies flanked him, creating a semicircle around her. "Feisty, huh?" he said, tilting his head. "I like that." That was it. Olivia loosened her grip slightly on the leashes, her voice low but commanding. "Guard." Thor and Shadow reacted instantly. Thor lunged forward first, teeth bared in a vicious snarl. The biker who had been reaching for Olivia stumbled back, hands flying up in shock. Shadow followed, his body tensed and eyes locked on the group like a predator stalking prey. His growl deepened, reverberating in the air around them. "What the hell?" one of the bikers stammered. Olivia took a step forward, her expression ice-cold. "You thought I was alone?" she asked, her tone calm yet dangerous. "Wrong move." The bearded biker's smirk vanished. His eyes flicked between the two trained K9s and Olivia, calculating his odds. One of his crew muttered, "Dude, let's just go." "Ain't worth it." The leader hesitated, his pride at war with his sense of self-preservation. Then, with a frustrated grunt, he took a step back. "Call him off." Olivia held her ground. "Get on your bikes. Leave. Now." The bikers exchanged uneasy glances, then one by one, they backed away. Engines roared to life. Olivia watched them go, but something in her gut told her this wasn't over. Olivia exhaled slowly, watching as the bikers sped out of the truck stop, their roaring engines fading into the night. Beside her, Thor and Shadow remained alert, their bodies still tense. Even as the immediate danger passed, their instincts didn't switch off. Olivia gave Thor a reassuring pat, running her fingers through his fur. "Good boys," she murmured. She climbed back into her truck, keeping her eyes on the side mirrors, scanning for any signs of the bikers turning back. Nothing. Still, something nagged at her. Men like that didn't take rejection well. As she pulled out of the truck stop and merged back onto the highway, she kept checking her mirrors. The road behind her was empty except for a few distant headlights from other travelers. She tried to shake the unease, forcing herself to focus on the long stretch ahead. A few hours of driving, then she'd find a rest stop where she could catch some sleep before the next haul. Shadow let out a soft chuff from the passenger seat, sensing her tension. Olivia reached over, scratching behind his ears. "We're fine, boy." "Just a bunch of idiots," she muttered, more to reassure herself than him. But an hour later, as she spotted the neon glow of a 24-hour diner, her gut feeling turned to cold certainty. In her side mirror, faint but unmistakable, were the glow of motorcycle headlights, not just one or two. At least four. Her grip on the steering wheel tightened. They were following her. This wasn't over. Olivia's heartbeat remained steady, but her mind was racing. 4 motorcycles, maybe more, trailing her in the darkness. It wasn't a coincidence. They were waiting, watching, planning. She had 2 choices: keep driving and hope they lost interest, or take control of the situation before they cornered her somewhere worse. She chose the latter. Flicking on her right turn signal, she guided her 18-wheeler off the highway, heading toward the diner parking lot. The place was small but well lit, with a few cars and several parked trucks. It wasn't crowded, but it wasn't deserted either. A smart place to make a stand. The bikers followed. She pulled her rig into a far corner of the lot, near a row of parked semis, positioning herself so her back was covered. The moment she parked, she reached for Thor's leash and unlatched his crate. The motorcycles rolled in behind her, engines rumbling low like a predator circling its prey. Olivia stepped down from the cab, calm but calculated. Thor landed beside her, his muscular frame tense, ears forward, eyes locked on the approaching threat. The bearded leader dismounted, spreading his arms as if greeting an old friend. "Hey now," he called out, that same mocking smirk back on his face. "You hurt my feelings back there. That wasn't very nice." Olivia didn't flinch. "Walk away." The younger biker sneered, stepping closer. "Or what? You gonna sick your mutts on us again?" Shadow, still in the truck, let out a menacing bark, a sharp, warning sound that made the younger man flinch, but the leader wasn't backing down. "We just want to talk," he said, taking another step forward. Olivia's hand hovered over Thor's leash clip. They weren't here to talk. Olivia held her ground, her pulse steady, her instincts sharp. She had faced danger before, on the battlefield, in war zones, and now, here, on the open road. The bearded biker took another step closer, his smirk unwavering. "No need to be hostile, sweetheart. We're just trying to be friendly." Thor let out a low, guttural growl, his body coiled like a loaded spring. He wasn't just a pet, he was a weapon, trained to take down threats without hesitation. The bikers spread out, flanking her truck, their movements slow and calculated. Olivia saw it for what it was, a trap. They were trying to corner her, make her feel powerless. Too bad for them, she was never defenseless. With a calm, precise motion, she unclipped Thor's leash and gave a single, firm command. "Protect." Thor exploded forward. The bearded leader barely had time to react before Thor lunged, stopping just inches from his chest, his fangs bared in a terrifying snarl. The biker stumbled back, hands raised, his bravado crumbling. "Whoa, whoa, call him off," he barked. Shadow, still inside the truck, went wild, his deep barks echoing through the lot. Olivia could see the hesitation creeping into the biker's eyes. They weren't expecting this level of control. "You boys have 2 choices," Olivia said, her voice cold as steel. "Get on your bikes and leave, or see what happens when I give the next command." The younger biker scoffed. You wouldn't. Thor snapped his jaws together. The sharp, echoing clack was enough to make him jump back in fear. One of the bikers muttered, "Screw this, man. It ain't worth it." The leader clenched his jaw, glaring at Olivia. But even he knew when to cut his losses. One by one, they backed off, climbing onto their motorcycles. The engines roared, and just like that, they were gone. Olivia didn't move until the sound of their bikes faded completely. Then, she knelt beside Thor, rubbing his head. "Good boy." Shadow let out a satisfied huff from the truck. Olivia smirked. Yeah, you too." But even as she climbed back into the cab, locking the doors, she knew one thing for sure: this was far from over. Olivia sat in the driver's seat, her eyes fixed on the empty road ahead. The bikers were gone, but her instinct screamed that this wasn't the last she'd see of them. Thor sat beside her, still on high alert, ears twitching at every distant sound. Shadow, now calmer, stretched out in the back, but his eyes remained open, always watching. She started the engine, pulling out of the diner's parking lot and back onto the highway, determined to put as much distance between herself and those bikers as possible. For a while, it was peaceful. The hum of the tires against the asphalt, the steady rhythm of the road, it almost felt like things were back to normal. Then she saw them, eye in her side mirror, far in the distance. A set of headlights appeared. Then another. And another. Her stomach clenched. They were following her. Again, but this time, it wasn't just 4 bikes, there were 6. "Persistent bastards," Olivia muttered under her breath, gripping the wheel tighter. Thor let out a low growl, his body stiffening. He could sense the tension in the air. Shadow, still in the crate, lifted his head, ears pricked forward. Olivia had 2 options: keep running or make a stand. She checked her fuel gauge. She couldn't outrun them forever. Her eyes flicked to a green road sign up ahead, a turnoff leading to an old industrial area, isolated. Empty. Perfect for what she needed. Without hesitation, she flicked on her turn signal and veered off the highway. The bikers followed. A slow, satisfied smirk crossed Olivia's face. "All right, boys," she murmured to her K9s, "let's finish this." Olivia's rig rumbled down the desolate road, leading the bikers away from the main highway. The industrial area ahead was dark and abandoned, the skeletal remains of warehouses and rusted-out trucks standing like forgotten relics. Perfect, eye in her side mirror, the bikers kept their distance, but they were still following. Their headlights flickered like predatory eyes in the night. Thor sat stiff beside her, his golden eyes fixed on the movement behind them. Shadow let out a low growl, sensing what was coming. "All right, boys," Olivia murmured, slowing the truck as she approached an open clearing between 2 massive warehouses. Time to show them why they picked the wrong target. She brought the 18-wheeler to a stop, shutting off the engine. The silence was deafening. The bikers' engines rumbled as they circled her, their laughter and taunts echoing in the empty lot. The bearded leader dismounted first, tossing his cigarette to the ground and stomping toward her truck. "Thought you could run, sweetheart," he sneered. "That was a mistake." The others followed, 6 of them now, forming a half-circle around her cab. Olivia took her time, unbuckling her seatbelt and rolling her shoulders, as if she wasn't surrounded. As if she wasn't outnumbered. Then, she reached for Thor's leash. The bearded biker smirked. "You can't hide behind your mutts forever, lady." Olivia's icy gaze locked onto his. "You think I'm hiding?" She gave a sharp whistle. The response was instant. Thor exploded out of the truck, his powerful body a blur as he charged straight for the nearest biker. Shadow followed, his deep snarl slicing through the night like a warning from hell itself. The bikers had seconds to react. Most of them were too slow. Chaos erupted in an instant. Thor lunged at the nearest biker, his powerful frame slamming into the man's chest. The biker let out a startled yell as he stumbled backward, his arms flailing. But Thor wasn't done. His teeth snapped inches from the biker's throat, forcing him to fall to the ground in sheer panic. Shadow moved like a phantom, darting between the motorcycles, his growls echoing through the lot. He circled another biker, cutting off his escape, his sharp fangs bared in a deadly snarl. The remaining bikers hesitated, their cocky grins replaced with wide-eyed fear. The bearded leader cursed. "What the hell?" Olivia stepped down from the cab, her boots crunching against the dirt. "Calm. In control, still think I'm hiding? She asked, tilting her head. The leader's eyes flicked between her and the trained K9s surrounding his crew. His men were backing away, their hands raised, too afraid to make a move. Call him off, one of the bikers snapped, his voice cracking. Olivia took a slow step forward. Why should I? Thor's deep growl sent a shiver down their spines. He was waiting for her signal. All right, the leader muttered, lifting his hands. We get it. You win. A long pause, then, Olivia snapped her fingers. Thor and Shadow held their ground, still tense, but did not attack further. The bikers scrambled back, some tripping over themselves as they hurried to their motorcycles. Humiliated. Defeated, the bearded leader shot Olivia a murderous glare. This ain't over, he growled. Olivia just smirked. Yes, it is. She whistled again, and with military precision, Thor and Shadow returned to her side. The bikers revved their engines, kicking up dust as they sped off into the night. The lot fell silent once more. Olivia exhaled slowly, running a hand through her hair. Her boys had done exactly what they were trained to do. She glanced down at them. Steak dinner. Both of you. Thor's tail wagged. Shadow huffed in agreement. As she climbed back into her truck, Olivia knew one thing for sure. No one would ever mess with her again. The roar of motorcycle engines had faded into the distance, leaving only the hum of the night and the steady heartbeat of the highway. Olivia sat in her truck, her fingers gripping the steering wheel as she let the adrenaline drain from her system. Thor sat beside her, his golden eyes still sharp, scanning the darkness for any lingering threats. Shadow yawned, stretching in the back seat, his body finally relaxing, but Olivia knew their instincts never truly switched off. She pulled the rig onto the highway, the open road stretching endlessly ahead. The neon lights of a truck stop glowed in the distance, a place to rest, regroup, and feed her loyal protectors. She glanced at them, a small smile forming. I meant what I said. You two earned that steak dinner. Shadow let out a pleased chuff, while Thor, always the serious one, simply kept watch. The events of the night replayed in her mind. The bikers had been arrogant, aggressive, and overconfident. They thought she was just another lone female trucker, easy prey on the road. They thought wrong. The military had trained Olivia for situations just like this. Strength wasn't just about force, it was about strategy, control, and knowing when to strike. And tonight, she had reminded them of one simple rule: some people are not to be messed with. As she pulled into the truck stop, the weight of exhaustion finally settled in. The world was unpredictable, dangerous, and full of threats, but Olivia had two of the best guardians a person could ask for. With Thor and Shadow by her side, she wasn't just a truck driver, she was unstoppable, and the road was hers. If you love this story of strength, resilience, and unstoppable loyalty, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping tales. Would you trust Thor and Shadow to have your back? Let us know in the comments, and remember, never underestimate the quiet ones.